There I am. Hi guys, how's everybody doing? It's me, and I just wanted to live while it was still in my head, and talk about it. You guys, hopefully, any huge Marvel fans and horror fans like me, got glass shard in my finger. Hopefully, if you're like me, you got a glass shard in your finger. I went to pick up something, and there was just this little busted piece of glass. I thought I had it all cleaned up, and it turns out no. All of it was cleaned up, and there's this little sliver still on my finger. While I'm doing this, I'll give some time for other people to come in. I'm not going to wait too much longer because I just want to talk about it until while it's still fresh in my. Okay. Well, anyway, here I am talking to you, fresh out of the fresh out the gate. I don't know what the term is to use. But I finished fresh, fresh out. No, don't do that. If you guys haven't yet, it just happened this morning. The Werewolf by Night, the Halloween Marvel. People call it a short, but it's at 55 minutes. So technically, it is a feature length film because according to standards when like turning in films for like awards and everything like that, a short is anything that is 44 minutes 59 seconds and under. The minute you hit 45 minutes, you go above that, it's actually considered a feature length film. So this was 55 minutes. This was feature length film. Is it a one-off? I don't know, but I watched it and it was done wonderfully in black and white. But yes, Werewolf by Night just came out this morning. I know, and it's Halloween season, so there's probably people that were interested in seeing, because Hellraiser's out today too on Hulu, which I do plan to watch maybe later tonight if I had time. But I made sure I had time to watch Werewolf by Night, and it's for one reason and one reason only. And y'all, anybody knows me knows that reason. But let's talk about it though. It had a great opening, very retro to the styles of like the old black and white Hammer films and matinees and stuff like that, like Vampire's Coffin, the Aztec Mummy, this, that, and the other. Great intro to it. How they kept things in mystery and stuff. You kind of already knew right off the bat who was who. We saw it. So stuff back here. I'm getting ready for VoltCon tomorrow. Yeah, and I still have people messaging me on here about it and stuff, which I'm letting them know. It's like it was incredible. I'm still like dumbfounded. I don't have the proper proper words to use and stuff. Um, and if you hadn't seen it yet, I'll just tell you right now, spoilers, because I am going to talk a little bit about it. There we go. If you heard that crunch, that was more glass coming out of my finger. I went to pick it up, and sure enough, there were some glass shards still around from where I thought I cleaned up. I'm getting messaged. Thank you. But so yeah, spoiler alert. I'm gonna talk about the show because that's what I do. Inadvertent can chug there. Sorry. But so you see the main character, the person is coming in. They're going into the lair of the hunters, the fortress, the kingdom, whatever you want to call it. And as he's going, you see various trophies, you see weaponry and everything like that. And the gentleman, he's got the markings on his face to honor his ancestors and whatnot. It's kind of a like tribal and whatnot, but it also almost kind of resembles like a faded like candy skull. He is he does have kind of like a Latino accent and whatnot. But you see the soldiers, and so you're mixing between. It's set in black and white, so it's making you feel like the 1940s, 50s, anime, horror, sci-fi films. But at the same time, if you're seeing their suits, it looks more up to date style. So it starts to make you wonder: is this supposed to be taking place back in the 40s and 50s? Is this current day, and it's just all in black and white? Um, but he comes into the main trophy room, and you see some of the older like kind of one-offs monsters that are all there, and you see their trophy as they're cut off trophy heads and everything like that. You start to meet some of the other hunters. Um, like one is I believe Scotsman, a Scottish hunter. He's the first one to talk. He's very boisterous, very da, 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 and very loud and whatnot. Then you have the Asian style. You have a person that I originally thought, I was like, oh, this is how they're introducing Blade, and then when I saw the stuff on the face, I was like, no, it's not Blade. It's just different hunter. They had the ambiguous hunter, um, very sleek, wearing all white, which is funny because this person's hunting monsters, and they are all in white and pale and everything. It was like you think they'd get bloody, but also at the same time, um, who else shows up is Elsa, not from Frozen. The MCU's Elsa, who's Elsa Bloodstone. She shows up, and I guess the storyline with that was the whole. She was basically left their family, the Bloodstone family, to go live out on her own after 20 years. She comes back because the main Bloodstone of the family, he has passed away. And so now the Bloodstone itself is up for grabs. I don't know too much history about the Bloodstone. Looking at it, I'm like, okay, so was this like a teaser for maybe a break off piece of an Infinity Stone or something like that? But everybody, all the hunters are fighting to have access to Bloodstone. And that's why they're having the meeting there. There's like, I think, like 5 or 6 different hunters from all over the world. And they are doing this hunt. They have to hunt a monster, and whoever gets the monster down first and slays the monster gets the Bloodstone, and they are now the new keeper of the Bloodstone. Now, Elsa is there because she was technically supposed to have the Bloodstone by birthright. However, because she was gone for so long and disregarded any kind of contact from them and stuff, like I guess the father wanted her around the mother, however, did not care for her. And well, thank you. Good deal. Very happy. Um, People are still messing me on here. It's like, I am here. You can talk to me here. But so she's coming basically because she wants the Bloodstone because she doesn't want anybody else to have it. It's supposedly hers by birthright. They're convinced that she's been slacking on her skills as a hunter, and she said, "No, I just haven't been trained by you guys. I'm doing my own thing right now." And they're like, "Oh, okay, well then." But the family disrespects her. The mother despises her and whatnot. But she makes this big grandiose. The mother makes this big grandiose display. The father is in a coffin, and they turned him into an automaton. Set in the side, and it's kind of funny because it's almost like Werewolf by Night is kind of making fun of the old school animatronics, like the House of Presidents or the Hall of Presidents at Disneyland and Disney World. Because the guy puts a little crank in there and starts cranking it, the coffin opens up, and out comes the father. And they basically took the man's corpse, and you can see where they cut the head and cut some of the limbs and then installed mechanical pieces. So he pops open and starts talking to everybody, and with the robotic, key cranked motions and whatnot, talking to them about how he's gone, and they're going to have this big hunt, and whoever slays the monster gets the Bloodstone. Da da da. I just said that, and then you also find out that all the weapons are hidden throughout this garden, if you will. And when you go out there, you see that it's basically a maze, and there's concrete structures throughout it, and as well as vegetation. So they get there. That's so cool. Um, and so they get picked out, and they also say, everybody's free game. And by saying that, they're basically saying the hunters can off each other as well. And the reason why is because, say, if you and me are hunters, and I have a chance of getting to that monster before you, you're going to want to take me out because you want the power of the Bloodstone. And then they explain what the power of the Bloodstone will be, because they said they are putting the Bloodstone on the creature, which will ultimately weaken this creature. So that's letting you know that the Bloodstone has an ability to weaken and better help the hunters fight monsters, which is what they're going after. So the hunt starts, and the very first person is the main character. His name is Jack, which is funny because it's Werewolf by Night. The man's name is Jack Russell. He's a Jack Russell Terrier. But no, so he goes in, and he's searching around, and everybody's now coming out one by one. You're seeing more of the hunters enter the area. Then you already start to see turmoil going on. The lady, Emma or Elsa, I keep wanting to say Emma Bloodstone now, but Elsa Bloodstone gets attacked. And as that's going on, it then cuts back to Jack, and Jack is looking everywhere. He puts his back up to this whole big shrubbery, and out comes the hand. It's like, oh my god, that's me right there. When the hand happens, I'm like, what? Freaking out and everything. And I got people still texting me. I appreciate it, brother. Anyway, so yeah, you see the hand come out, and he grabs him. So I'm thinking, oh, no. I was like, they're really going to make him a villain, because I know who that is. I know that's Man Thing. But when you see him grab him, he looks and sees the hand, and he was like, oh, thank God it's you. So now you're seeing Jack completely relieved. And he turns around, and he's just like, hey, and then you see Man Thing behind the shrubs, and oh my god, he looks so good. He looks comic book decent. He's not that BS Lionsgate garbage version of him where they made him Cthulhu of the Swamp from 2005. They did him good, like the comic book, like how he should be. And he starts talking. He's like, hey, Ted, how's it going? Now, this is where I got thrown off a little bit, because as I'm watching and seeing how awesome Man Thing looks, Jack's referring to him as Ted. He's calling him Ted. And the reason why I was put off a little bit at first is because of the Man Thing that I know from the majority of the comic books is that Man Thing's mindless. Man Thing seems like he doesn't have much of a conscience. Man Thing acts on empathy. He reads your feelings and stuff like that. But the interaction between him and Jack, they're communicating. You're seeing his eyebrows going up and down and talking to him and stuff. And so I'm like, okay, all right, well. And before I could really complain about anything, I just remembered that way back in the day when X-Men, the very first series of X-Men came out, there was a person complaining about movie versus the X-Men universe versus the comic book, and Stan Lee basically said, how there's a multiverse, how there's so many different versions of these characters in different universes. He said the film universe is a completely different universe on itself, so you trying to compare what happens in the comic books to the universe is void. Two different universes, so there's no reason to be talking about how they're when he said that, I remember it was like 2000, 2001, something like that, when the first X-Men came out. And it just went, oh, it makes sense. So watching him actually communicate, Man Thing communicate with Jack, and I was like, okay, I'm okay with this. The comic book nerd in me was like, wait a minute, thing's not supposed to be talking and communicating and stuff. But then I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. So you realize that Jack is there to free Um, maybe. But you see that. Why am I being messaged? Just message me on Facebook about brother. I'm right here. Oh, hey, how's it going? For some reason, it's not what you guys are saying on the overlay. Well, that sucks. I gotta jump over there now. It was good seeing you, Joe Wesley. Ah, the Bloodstone Estate, yes. But no, what I'm talking about too is the fact that so you realize that Jack is there. Like I said, spoilers. Jack is there to actually free Man Thing. He's there to free Ted. I still was, like I said, I was still a little like, huh. There, I was like, but he's still talking to him and stuff. It's like, come on, man, don't be just talking. But I'm cool with it. I am cool with it. Or he's still like, well. So you realize Man Thing is who they're hunting. So I immediately went, oh no. Oh God, don't tell me they kill Man Thing off. I've been waiting so long to see, because you gotta remember, I hope this helps shed some light on it, how big of a Man Thing fan I am. Do we see this? I cosplayed as Man Thing back in 2016, and every now and then I would still cosplay as Man Thing. It's one of my favorite cosplays ever. It's my favorite character ever, and I spent a good 2 months doing this cosplay. So don't tell me I don't know nothing about Man Thing. I'll fight you. I'll fight you for it. And so yeah, you can guess my disappointment in 2005 when Man Thing came out, and they butchered the character. You can tell about how my depression and my anger when one of my favorite childhood book writers, R.L. Stine, did his series of Man Thing and just crapped all over the character. Absolute garbage. They did garbage to Man Thing, and like I said, he only did the Man Thing comics because he basically threw a dart and went, I'll do Man Thing, just so that he could make his own little stories into comic book form. So R.L. Stine, I love Goosebumps, but really what you did with Man Thing. But no, and then it's like seeing that teaser of Man Thing's face on the tower, the champions in Thor Ragnarok, seeing his head dead center on there. I was like, oh my God, are we gonna see Man Thing in Thor Ragnarok? No. Well, but then when this information came out, because they tease him often, like they even did it in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where she says who or what is a Man Thing, and it's like, oh God, are they going to bring him out there? And they used him in the cartoon series, the Spider-Man. He was in the Groot and Rocket. He was in multiple Spider-Man ones. Because he showed up with the yes, Werewolf by Night did really, and yes, that's what I'm getting to. They did extremely right by doing what they did with Man Thing. I can't believe I did. I was just so when he showed up, I was like, "Oh my God, it's him!" And my wife's sitting right next to me. I'm going, "Ah!" So I was fanboying out like hardcore because I was nervous. I was like, "Well, I really hope they don't ruin it." But then I was like, "Oh my God, don't make him talk." But he communicated, but it was very. So I'm like, "That's fine. I'm cool with that. That's okay." So yeah, he's trying to save Man Thing, and then Man Thing goes away for a little bit, and I'm like, God, I really hope there's more Man Thing in the show. And so he runs. Jack runs back into Emma again because they're fighting, and he's being the nice guy. They start fighting with the Scottish fellow with the axe and whatnot. She breaks off, and she starts fighting with the Asian person, cuts his arm off. They're fighting too again. She escapes. They both get locked into a mausoleum. Stop trying to force my wife to do She-Man thing. I keep saying spoilers. So I say spoilers. I said spoilers in the beginning before you got on here. I'm saying spoilers now. I keep saying spoilers. So I keep saying spoilers. They can get off it. That's what, because I was like, oh, Mrs. Ratlock. He's like, she should do a She-Man thing. I was like, I'm not going to force her to do any kind of cosplay just because it's something that I like. She needs to like it too and be down for it. Because I showed her the She-Man thing from Deadpool's Secret Contest of Champions. She's a paralegal by day. Matter of fact, I just did. This is going to be at, where is it at? This is going to be at VoltCon this weekend. Tomorrow, starting tomorrow, I got a booth at VoltCon. I got various comics, various art pieces, sculptures, and whatnot. Like I said, right here, boom. I got masks and everything that I'm bunching all up together, and they're getting loaded in the hearse, and they're going out tomorrow morning. 2 days VoltCon. If you guys have a chance, check it out. But no, so they help get out. They make a little pact with each other. She wants the Bloodstone. He wants to rescue his buddy Ted, Manny, however you want to say his name, Man Thing. I only know him formally. Him and me are not friends yet. I don't know if I deserve to call him Ted or not. But anyway, so once again, spoilers on that. They have a bit of comedy because she's trying to lead. She runs in the Man Thing, and it's another little thing that made me go, because when she sees Man Thing, you can clearly tell that she is scared, but she's keeping her composure. You can tell that when she talks. Oh, and how they do it. You know, she's fighting with the Scotsman again, and Man Thing comes out of the bushes. Like I said, spoiler, but you've actually seen part of this in the trailers. Man Thing comes out of the shrubbery. The Scotsman turns around and sees him and freaks out. Man Thing immediately takes his hand, palms the Scotsman head, and just incinerates his head and throws him aside. And it's like, oh, and to see how big Man Thing is. Like, I mean, right here, look how big he is right there. He's a decent sized beast. They probably have him around 8 or 9 feet tall, and it's because he's slouching. He'd probably be definitely a lot bigger. So he dispatches the Scottish hunter, no problem. Sees her, you can tell she's scared. She keeps her composure, and she goes, Ted. He's like, because he went from this to oh. And she's like, yeah, your friend is trying to free you, so we need to go and stuff. And he's like, rrr. Now, part of me is like, there is still that thing that Man Thing is supposed to work on emotion. So even if he detects a hint of fear, how that's supposed to work in the comic book Man Thing is when he feels fear, if it's close to him in some kind of a radius, it is the most searing, scorching, terrible pain that he experiences, which is fear. And because of that, Dr. Thing yeah, he's working on his posture. But just by feeling that emotion, it's so terrifying and stuff that Salas, Man Thing, needs to snuff out that as soon as possible. So even though she was keeping her composure, she was still scared. So technically, Man Thing would freak out and still want to burn it. But it gave her enough time to talk to him to where she realized, okay, he's not a threat to her, and she calmed down even more. So now you got this scene where Jack is trying to blow open this wall, and he thinks that it's one of those like James Bond type explosives where, once again, spoilers, if he throws it at the wall, it'll stick, boom, and they're free. But it doesn't. Okay, so then it's them running again, trying to get to the exit point, and then once again, it's him sitting there trying to stick it on there, and he's like, okay, starts to run, and it falls off, and it's like, and the best part is, as he's doing this, you see a crack in the wall. The wall is compromised there, which is why Elsa Bloodstone told him to blow that part out. So finally, you see he just walks up and throws it in the crack, which is what he should have done to begin with. So it blows up. Man Thing immediately gets there to the outer part, turns back, does a little deuces and just disappears off into the woods. So there's that. Bravo, everything's done. Oh yeah, Emma uses this grappling, or Elsa. I keep saying Emma now. Elsa uses a grappling hook to yank the stone off of Man Thing's back. So it's laying there. Once again, spoilers. This is how they find out who Jack is. Jack just walks over to grab the stone, and it immediately repels him, blasts him off, knocks him out. And the other hunters come and they witnessed it. And so like, oh, looks like we have a monster among us. Da 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 da. Electrocution. He's knocked out. Let's move on to the next scene, if you will. Like I said, this is spoilers. If you have not seen Werewolf by Night, turn this off. So they then wake up. Him, Jack, and Elsa are in a cage. And the reason why is because everybody's coming in with robes and masks and everything. They're getting ready to do another ritual, and you find out she's going to basically try to do the mother or whatever is going to try to two birds it. Two birds, one stone. She's going to activate the stone to make Jack become the monster that he is, and then in return, she's hoping that he is going to dispatch Elsa for them, and then they will then dispatch whatever monster he becomes, because they still don't know what kind of monster he is at the time. So it's like, okay, and that's why he does something, once again, spoilers, to try to save Elsa. Immediately kind of rubs himself onto her, gets a scent, and then smells her, try to remember that, so that when he turns, she'll be a friend. And she said, how often does this work? He was like, once. Hello, Paul. Thank you very much for being here. We're talking about the Men Thing show, so if you hadn't seen it, do be careful. I'm spoiling a lot. So if you haven't seen it yet and you want to see it and you don't want it to be spoiled, hop off, because I'm spoiling every single thing because I want to talk about it. And hopefully there's people here that have seen it. Like, I know Wes has seen it. My lovely wife Kristen has seen it. My mom probably not, but she doesn't care. But so he's doing his best to get sent on, and he does. They come out. They use the stone, activate they activate. Oh, I gotta go on YouTube. Thank you guys for the likes out there and the hearts and everything. Hello, Skull and Mortar. I got Skull and Mortar on. I got Skull and Mortar over here on YouTube. I'm talking about the Werewolf by Night. I watched it, and so I keep warning people when they come on, if you have not seen it yet and you do not want spoilers, you're gonna need to hop off here because I'm spoiling the entire thing. But we're towards the end anyway. So he's doing his best to get his scent onto her. They come out. She uses the stone, starts speaking in Latin. Oh yeah, that's true. So they activate him. You see him changing. They don't do a full they don't go like Werewolves of London. They don't show that change right there in front of your eyes. But they do the flashing, like the lightning, and you see the shadow behind Elsa as he's turning into a werewolf. So it'll be like if I have Elsa right here and then behind me there's a shadow, you're seeing the shadow slowly become a werewolf. And not only does that happen, so he turns it. It's technically it's a movie. It's on Disney Plus. It's Marvel. It's MCU. It just came out this morning, and I had to watch it. And while it's all fresh in my head, I had to talk about it. It is so good. It is so good. I enjoyed it. It was filmed like a black and white film. Had a lot of the old sci-fi horror aspects to it. It's very well done. So he escapes from the cage. They're trying to blast him with tasers. I think everything fogs up. Boom, he goes out. Elsa's still in there. So now we have full-on werewolf mode hiding. They do a quick little where is he? Oxenfree. Boom, he's off, and he is ripping throats. We're talking, there's a reason why Hey, how's it going? Hello, Michael. Good to have you here. I have people on um, YouTube as well as Facebook right now. So thank you guys. Once again, I am spoiling Werewolf by Night right now by talking about it. So if you don't want spoilers and you haven't seen it yet, please get on there or get off. Get off here. Don't watch. But no, it's good to have you on here, Mike. Appreciate that. And so back into it. So yeah, there's a reason why, because everybody's like, well, they got Deadpool in there and the X-Men stuff. You got Werewolf by Night ripping throats out. You had Elsa already lop a dude's arm off. And you're seeing him biting people and slashing at them. People are getting completely eradicated, you know. And the whole time, the mom, the mother Bloodstone, whatever I keep her name. Yes. Well, I'll talk about that in a second. I'll talk about that in a second, Leslie. And now I'm getting blasted by the Outlaw Mud Show people. Hello, guys. So as he's ripping up people, like I said, and they're doing cool little cuts where he's fighting the guys with the giant tasers, where he's ripping heads off, and you're seeing blood come across and stick onto the screen. I'll record SmackDowns. So yeah, they're Elsa finally breaks free. Mama Bloodstone, she's a great role. She is at the top, eccentric, egotistical, annoying character. She is the one that when you watch it, you hope that she gets hers in the end. And spoiler alert, she does. So I'll put on shadow overlays again. The YouTube chats are connecting. That's weird. The Facebook ones aren't. So go here, take this, move this over here. Even better. So yeah, so she's doing her. Oh, I'm gonna hide. I'm gonna run over here, and I'm gonna run over there. So Jack is basically just surviving by ripping up people, and then you got Elsa who's trying to get her hands on the Bloodstone. I mean, it's her birthright and whatnot. Mom's trying to keep all that from happening. So as Jack is offing all the guards off and stuff, and every now and then he takes care of one of the hunters, Elsa's pretty much fighting the hunters right now because all the hunters want the stone, and she is competition, and she is offing them all off like crazy as well. I believe the Asian guy does a little thing. Once again, spoilers. She has the sword pointed into the ground. He's by it. She pushes her foot down on his head, cutting his throat open there. Jack goes into the smaller room where it's very enclosed, and he's just ripping everybody piece by piece. Also has a square off with the ambiguous hunter in white, and she knows that something's going to happen. I believe she's fighting the hunter in white. Like I said, I've only seen it once, and Mama Bloodstone's using the Bloodstone against Jack now, blasting him and everything like that. So she sees that. They're still battling, so she just immediately is like, okay, well, this has to end. Takes her little sword, and like I said, spoilers, slashes the white one's throat, and then puts the sword dead in the middle of the white one's head, and you see the white one's off to the side. So it gets not super gore, but it gets gory. And for it, I like horror movies. I like gore. So that happens. And as the Mama Bloodstone is getting ready to blast him one more time with the Bloodstone, Elsa uses her grappling that she found in her aunt's coffin, shoots it out, and goes full on Scorpion for Mortal Kombat. You see that the grappling hook runs out, clenches into her back, it looks like, and she's all, get over here, and yanks her away from the stone, knocking her down. She goes, has a moment with Jack. Jack's like, knocks her down, looks like he's going to rip her up. Spoilers once again. But then Jack's like looking at her, and she says, Jack, and he's like, oh, and he realizes that she's cool. Him doing the whole set and everything like that, and talking to her right beforehand, saves her life. So he then takes off running. Boom, he's out. He leaves the place. He vacates the area because he doesn't want to kill anymore. So she's slowly getting up, and then there's Mama Bloodstone again. How dare you? You're a disgrace. And the evil, evil doer soliloquy, which once again spoilers, the evil doer soliloquy that you hear before their demise, where they're like, you've lost, and I've you don't even matter. In a couple minutes, you won't even be matter. Those little quotes that, okay, it's getting ready to be their time. So as she's like, and she's doing the whole preaching and everything like that, and then right behind her, boom, Man-Thing drops back in. She turns around. She's terrified. He grabs her with both hands, and as he does it, she just incinerated from center out to the head and toes. Completely incinerates her body. Spoilers, by the way. And just takes her and lofts her and just tosses her straight into the wall. Boom, crashing and everything. And after he does that, he basically just looks at Elsa, and you just see Man-Thing go, so, all right, where is he? Like, basically, you can tell by his movement, his eyes, and it's kind of like he's saying, so where Jack goes, she was like, he went out that way. And he's just like, oh, okay. He turns around, he grabs a cloak, and just leaves as well. So Emma has the Bloodstone now. She's in complete control of the Bloodstone. But, before her and Jack had that little interaction towards the end. She gets the Bloodstone. She can use the Bloodstone against Jack if she wants to. Once again, spoilers, but she puts it in her back pocket to let Jack know that she needs him no ill will. I'm talking so fast, I'm drying out my throat as we speak. So she then pulls the. I'm seriously. I'm talking too fast. So I need a second. Okay. She goes and sits down, and the one guy that was turning the crank or yanking the dad's crank, he was turning the crank that was controlling the dad Bloodstone that was dead. Oh yeah, that's how Man-Thing, when he took her, the mom, he incinerated her and then threw her into that dude's coffin, and it was just like this big boom, and then you see the father Bloodstone's head come rolling out. It's like a busted animatronic. So anyway, she sits back down and she's like, go and clean the stuff up because she's now master of the household. I know I will hydrate. I hydrated earlier. I drank a freaking whole can. Oh, there's a little bit left. It went down my shirt. Dang it. I like this shirt, by the way. Anybody wants to know what the shirt? I'll flip it around. Boom. There you go. Look at that. Huh? Now it's on backwards. I love this shirt. One more thought it was a bad print because it got a little layered wrong. I think it's awesome. I like it's kind of trippy. It makes people stare at it harder to see what it's. Oh, hydrate is water. Yes. Hell, hydrate. Anyway. So she sits down, tells the guy, he's like, how may I be of service to you? And she's like, clean this up. And as she's sitting down, you start hearing the song Over the Rainbow from Wizard of Oz. Yes. And so that's one of the things I like about it as well. It was awesome. But so you hear Somewhere Over the Rainbow, color starts to come in. Everything gets colorized. And then there's this makeshift like TP or whatever it will. Well, you guys aren't gonna say anymore. I'm just getting rid of this. I'm getting rid of that chat over. And he's inside the little, like, it's just a bunch of sticks put together. He's covered up with this cape. And it pans out, and there's Man-Thing sitting there playing solitaire, sitting on a stump playing solitaire. And he gets out and he's like, hey, and then Man-Thing has a thing of a cup of coffee ready for him. And they have like a little campfire, and they're sitting there talking to each other. And Man-Thing points out, I saved you. And he's like, I'm the one saving you. and they're having like a little, like suddenly it's becoming like a buddy comedy with a werewolf and a swamp monster. And then he's like, "Yeah, I owe you." He goes, "We should go out. What about sushi?" And Manthing's like, "Rrr." And that's how they end it. They end it with Jack and Ted just sitting out in the woods, having coffee, and enjoying themselves. And boom, credits hit. It was such an awesome. It was so good, and I did. My wife is like making fun of me, and I'm looking at her, and I actually have tears rolling out of my eyes because I like. It's one of those things, if you grew up with something and you cared about something so bad, and there's that thing in your head where you're like, I want this to happen so bad. I would love to see Man Thing in a movie or Man Thing somehow live action, CG, whatever. And when it happened in 2005, I was so excited. I went and I rented DVD and I popped it in and I watched it. I was just completely devastated by the garbage that they did. It did. It just brought me down, And I keep hearing this teasing of them bringing Man Thing, and I'm like, please put Man Thing in the MCU or something like that, because I found out that they just bought the rights back from Lionsgate, because Lionsgate still had control. And I'm still a little waving my finger at Kevin Feige because he said, well, I did have my hands in on that making of the Man Thing in 2005. And I was like, then why did you let him make it garbage? Why did you let him? I like the cuts and everything. No, the movie was garbage. He did a bad job. Man Thing was terrible in 2005. Fix it. And I think because this coming out, they fixed it. I mean, I just wish they could have put more Man Thing in. I'm really keeping my fingers crossed because everybody's now, the buzz is going around about them doing either a Midnight Suns or the League of Monsters, because you got Jack, you have Man Thing, you got Morbius now, Blade's coming out. So I'm very optimistic about that. And I don't know if they're just going to keep doing just every Halloween or if they might just start introducing more of the horror aspect. Because they even do the intro where you see the Avengers in scripture, like drawn out like old parchment. And they said, but there's this other area. And it drops down and you start seeing you see werewolves and vampires and knights and stuff. So they're sitting there saying there's a dark realm that even libs haven't touched on. So yes, and Ghost Rider's back as well. That's why I'm thinking Midnight Suns. Because Midnight Suns was what was it? Ghost Rider, Man Thing, Doc Strange. I think Morbius was with them. But then they had the League of Monsters with Man Thing, the Living Mummy, Werewolf by Night, the Manphibian, I think is what his name was. And then there was 4 extra spots. So there's like Frankenstein's monster, or they even have the option for Howling Commandos right here. I'm excited about that. And yes, what my wife said earlier. She loved the fact that the mushrooms and the daisy were growing off of him and stuff, because he is Man Thing is that of he's made from the swamp, so anything that grows in the swamp would be growing off of him anyway. And there's some versions of Man Thing that's out there where whatever vegetation he's around would be growing off of him too. So if he was in the woods, you would see more like mushrooms and and they had the Midnight Suns mobile game had Wolverine in it. I love the fact that Hugh Jackman's coming back as Wolverine for Deadpool 3. And I like how they introduced it just by him going up the stairs like, hey, you want to do Wolverine? Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'm extremely happy with it. The credits rolled. I had tears rolling out of my eyes because, my hero, Man Thing is my number 1 favorite Marvel comic book in general. If you lopped together all of the DC, Image Comics, Marvel, you rope any of those all those comic book characters together and said which one's your favorite, Man Thing hands down is my favorite. He's misunderstood. It's like don't make him mad, don't hurt him because he'll lash out. At the same time, they had the one where the baby was being poisoned. because they were giving the baby water from the well, and Man-Thing picks up the baby and carries him. What people didn't realize was he was saving the baby because he was absorbing the toxins that was going to poison and kill the baby. So, pride. But yeah, no, all in all, I will say a 4.8 stars out of 5. That's how I feel. And now I just hope that there is. And like I said, when Deadpool came out and all these people were like, oh, well, people are going to start looking at Deadpool now. Oh, what are we going to do about it? It's like, be happy because there's going to be more Deadpool stuff coming out. And that's what I'm hoping right now with this. With this movie coming out and its popularity, I have... Boom. My wife got me that. I got my Man-Thing pop vinyl. I was, like I said, Man-Thing cosplay. Boom. Hi, it's me, Manny. Andy Manny. I'm extremely excited. I really hope more Man-Thing toys and stuff comes out because, yes, I will get them and I'll play with them. The only thing I really have Man-Thing wise that's reasonable, but I don't have it is, when Marvel Legends action figures came out, there was a Build-A-Figure Man-Thing. I only have a couple pieces of him. Like, I'm still missing, like, a leg and an arm. I have, like, the torso, the head, a leg and an arm. I need another leg and an arm. They're extremely hard to get because the action figures they're attached to, if you buy them in the box, they're now currently like $60 to $100. So it's like, so I still keep looking around for loose pieces so I can finally finish building my Man-Thing. And I have a couple heads. My wife got me like 2 or 3 Man-Thing heads, so I'm actually going to turn one into a ring. That's going to be fun. So anyway, that is my whole review, spoilers included, of Werewolf by Night. Like I said, finally, Man-Thing is in the Marvel Universe. I mean, they did do a small teaser of him in Thor Ragnarok, but now he is officially in. We've seen him. Please don't screw him up. Kevin, talking to you, Kev. Don't screw up Man-Thing. Don't off him because Man-Thing can't die. He can get all slashed up and everything, then he comes back up. There's going to be for Halloween the Man-Thing comic where it's going to be him and Wolverine, the X-23 version, and we called like Undying something in the swamp of, and she's going to keep John. All right, sorry, I got to boot John off now. John, you're blocked. Bye. Say, John, you're gone. We can't talk to you anymore. I will do that. I will rage ban you, John. Swear to God. You mean Swamp Thing? The guy that came out after the Swamp Thing, the character that was ripped off of Man-Thing because both writers lived together. And writer turned stuff. Writer's like, oh yeah, I have an idea where the Swamp Thing, where the Swamp Thing, where the Swamp Thing writer, the lawsuit, DC Comics had to change Swamp Thing's origin because they did prove in the courts that it was too much of a blatant ripoff of Man-Thing. Yeah, John. Ooh, Swamp Thing's... No, he's not. Swamp Thing may have become a White Lantern, but Man-Thing is the keeper of all realities, the nexus of all realities. Man-Thing himself was a nexus of all realities. So, sorry, Swamp Thing. No. But anyway, I'm talking about it right now. Like I said, I can talk about Man-Thing for hours and everything. So hopefully you guys enjoyed my little talk with you guys today. I'm going to get off here. We're going to go pick up my wonderful son from preschool. And I'm not being Vinny Ratlock right now, so I don't have to say it. All right, I'll do it.